Hello and welcome to Chamber Connections. My name is Maureen Sullivan. I'm the Executive Director of the Bedford Chamber of Commerce. And today my guest is David Tasto. He is the owner of Assisting Hands Home Care.
Thank you, Maureen.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So this actually is going to be my last interview. So I could say I saved the best for last, but you'll blush.
I'm honored. I'm honored.
So let's start with, why don't you just tell me about your story and how you got into this business and where you came from and where you're going.
Oh, thank you. Well, I started off in engineering and product development, but after a few years in various industries, I had a personal family experience with some caregivers. My grandmother was diagnosed with dementia about 5 years ago, and as she progressed through the phase of the disease, she lived with my mom and stepdad. But as the disease progressed, she needed to move into a community and then eventually into the memory community. But I recall my mom, and eventually at the end, she needed hospice help. But I recall my mom calling me and saying that the hospice help that she received, the caregivers were just so amazing. And she said, if I knew that there was help like this that existed, she could have kept mom at home longer. You know, it got me thinking, I'm like, wow, so there's just an unmet need out there somewhere. And but I got the chance to meet those caregivers that helped my grandmother in those final few weeks. I went out to Minnesota and met them at my grandmother's funeral. Wow. And these are caregivers, not that they were so committed just to attend the funeral, but I was able to hear some stories on how they were able to make her smile in those final few weeks. They were able to dress her in her favorite blouses, do her nails, do her hair, and they just went that extra mile to make her final few weeks so much more meaningful. They thought there was really somebody's grandmother in that person. Even though my grandmother wasn't aware of much of what was going on around her, they still cared, and that compassionate and their thoughtfulness really inspired me. So, on the way back from Minnesota, I just was thinking about how I could make a bigger impact, directly impacting people's lives, use some of my background experience. Wow,
that's a great story. That was like a life-changing event.
Definitely.
So, Assisting Hands Home Care, that's a franchise?
Yes.
So did you look around and say, I'm going to do this?
Yeah, I just looked into a bunch of different businesses, other home care franchises, and settled on Assisting Hands, primarily for their approach to local support for business owners, but also their high, focus on quality and the controls that they have in place.
Awesome. And what was your grandmother's name?
My grandmother's name was Shirley Cassidy.
Okay, I like that. I was going to say you could open another one like, Cassidy Home Care.
Yeah.
All right, so tell me a little bit about your vision and the mission statement of, I probably know that based on what you just said, but tell me what your vision is for your business.
Well, let me start with just a quick story. Just yesterday, we received a call from a client who said that they are so extremely satisfied and happy with the caregiver that they have, and that it's a perfect match, and that they don't want anyone else but her to come.
Is that a problem sometimes?
It can create a problem with us for the other caregivers that are also helping out, but that's a great problem to have. We love that problem, especially when our clients love all of our caregivers. We can work through those scheduling challenges, but those are the problems we love to have.
And so when someone comes to you and you have to send a caregiver, obviously since that was such a perfect match, do you do a little investigative, into what might be a good fit?
Yes. So just stepping back a bit, the key thing that guides our business is that we believe all folks deserve the best care available, similar to what my grandmother received. And it starts by understanding who our clients are, going out and doing an assessment in the home and with them and the person receiving care and their family member. But we go through a bunch of like a 5-page assessment to understand all elements that they might need support with, but then we also ask their personality, interests, folks that they get along with, to understand who they are, their particular approach and what might work well with them. And then we do a similar thing on the other side with our caregivers. Really, how do we know who's on our team? It's a big piece to our success. So
what is the average age, or do they range, like that somebody starts looking for, help?
It can start typically, I think on average, folks start needing help in their early 70s.
Okay.
Right now, a lot of the clients are in their 80s or 90s, so it's mostly the baby boomers' parents.
Right.
But the oldest baby boomers are now hitting 71, 72, and that's definitely when they start needing help.
So I have a quick question. I'm going to digress a little bit. What you said about your grandmother being on hospice. So hospice, as most people know, is a separate entity. So do you have a hospice within your business, or do you then outsource hospice so that now, your client has your caretaking and their caretaking?
We would supplement the help that is provided under hospice benefit.
Okay.
So we'd refer to partners of ours that provide that skilled care or other types of support during the hospice period, but often families or loved ones need supplemental help,
Right.
and that's where we would, from around the clock or a few extra hours a day. There's only a certain number of hours that they're
Right,
providing help
they're
during the
providing.
benefit.
So you take care of that. So if somebody came in, hired you, and you're taking care of them, and then it comes to a point that they need hospice, you take care of that and set that all up for your client.
Right.
That's awesome. That's
Yep.
great. Okay, so how does someone get signed up if they need you? Like, what do they do?
Part of it is just primarily it's just that assessment in the home where we go through what kind of care needs they might want or need, and then ask that personality questions. We and this is all complimentary, including a home safety evaluation, so that we want to make sure that the environment our caregiver is going to be working in, and also the environment for the client is going to be a safe environment. So all that's complimentary, and then care can start within 1 to 2 days once we find that great match.
And so there are a lot of options. I mean, there's obviously we talked before that the generations are getting older, and how many people now want to stay in their homes, et cetera, et cetera. So what do you offer, or do you offer anything that's different from other home care companies, businesses?
Oh yeah. If I had to say 2 or 3 things that would really distinguish Assisting Hands, I would say first of all it's our amazing caregivers, and I can go into a little bit about how we select our caregivers. The second is our communication to family members, and third I would say probably our quality controls. So on the caregiver side, we pride ourselves in hiring the best caregivers in the Boston area. Only after they pass a 104-point exam. They also meet the clinical expectations of our RN on staff, but also undergo and pass successfully a national criminal background check. So we'll find out if there's an issue with a caregiver that's just coming from New Hampshire.
Sure.
So it's a national check. On the communication, I would say that after every shift, the care notes, the detailed care notes, we make those available to family members immediately so that family members can get a real-time update on how mom is doing. And that's critical to what a lot of family members really want to be informed and understand what's going on with their loved one. On the quality control side, our nurse does regular supervisory visits and also ad hoc visits to just check on ensuring that our caregivers are meeting the expectations of our clients, but also adhering to the care plan that we've put in place when we started on.
So you have a medical backup. So your caregivers are not RNs, correct?
Correct, no.
But then you have a nurse that oversees their work?
Yes, exactly. So we, for providing personal care, we only use certified nursing assistants or certified home health aides. But they're under the supervision of our nurse RN on staff. Yep.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So tell me, how long have you been here in Bedford? I know how long you joined the chamber. I think it was like the same week you started your business.
Shortly
so how long have you
thereafter.
been here?
So we started last fall, since October last fall, so we've been in place for over a year, and we're located just up on Crosby Drive. That's
crazy, because I feel like I've known you for way longer than that. So you were a good chamber member. You joined and you immediately,
That's right.
You immediately got involved, and that's great. So you have down here that, and we talked about people wanting to staying in their homes and not going to assisted living or nursing home. So what is your advice on how to make that happen? Like, when should you start planning for that?
Planning is never done too early, but the key thing is that it really starts with a plan, having a plan for aging in place. But the plan, and my background is in product development and program management, so I love creating plans, but having a plan is key. The elements of the plan, you have to start a plan with objectives. What do you want? And it doesn't necessarily have to be, that you want to stay in your home. There could be various places you might want to move into a community, like my grandmother did. But your housing objectives, your personal or travel aspirations, financial objectives, you want to be independent, so all these elements elements of the plan stem from the objectives. After we identify all the elements, then it's just assessing which things you can do on your own or what you might need help with. And we can help pull together those plans for folks and then refer out if they need help in a certain area, like a financial resource or a legal resource, to put legal documents in place or other types of it.
Let's talk a little bit about financially. Is it, I know how much it costs to live in assisted living because we've been into that. So when people have full-time care, like is it cost effective? Is it more expensive to go into it? Does insurance cover it? The whole financial piece, which is what I think freaks out a lot of people. Like they even when they think about going into an assisted living or can I stay at home?
Yeah. Home care is a great way to ease into getting extra help. Even if the ultimate plan might be to move into community for various reasons, the cost to start care or support at home is much less than it is to move into a community.
Right.
There's no upfront, there's no monthly required payments.
You can pick how many hours you're having.
You can choose the number of hours a day, a week, and so forth. And you can cut back too. You can start a little bit more. You can cut back. You can add hours later. So it's flexible. There are insurance options. Some folks have long-term care insurance. There's also a veterans benefit, a program that we've actually just started to help give back to the community a bit, and working with folks that might not have the means to pay privately, but for wartime veterans, there's a program through the VA that certain folks can use their pension benefit and get up to 15 hours a week.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
So in long-term disability, so if you have that, see, this is a personal question I'm asking on TV. So if you have long-term disability, how can you use that as home care? Do you have to meet some, like, if I have long-term care, could I just call you up and say, hey, I'd like you to come over and help me do something?
Long-term, so we look at those policies and review those policies with the clients, but typically folks that start a claim with their insurance for long-term care insurance, they need to require support for 2 activities of daily living. Okay. So that's usually bathing, dressing, feeding, or ambulating or walking around, like that stuff.
And does home health care, do you do any like out of the home? Like do your caretakers take people out of the home? Like let's say I want to go to Stop and Shop.
Yeah, no, it's a great and great question. And what we find is that often folks are a little hesitant to getting help initially. And so we don't have a minimum set of hours. We do charge premiums for, talking about the cost and the finance. We do charge a premium just to get reliable care, but we want folks to be comfortable with what they're undertaking and ease into getting care. A lot of folks are hesitant or resistant to getting extra support because they feel like they might not need it or for other reasons. And the fact that you bring up transportation is a big piece of it. It's a great way we can help introduce someone, a caregiver, to help a loved one through going, on a task like getting groceries.
Oh, so that you do. So your caretakers take
a long roundabout way to answer that, but it is a great way to kind of start up help for folks that might be resistant to care. And going on a task like going to get groceries or going to an appointment, you just have a helper bringing you is a great way to introduce that person and then allow them to start further help with your parents or your loved ones.
Well, there's that whole thing of having someone in your house and, and the trust issues and et cetera, et cetera.
You want to get a bond from day one.
Exactly. But, we talked briefly about your caregivers, and I asked you where you got them, and you were telling me that many of them are from referrals, correct?
Yeah. So as we start showing our team and treating them well, we are getting a lot of folks on our team to join our team. Because of our high standards, it is a challenge to find folks in the area, but when we do have folks on our team who like working with us and they see how we're treating them, they are sending on their friends and family members to us.
That's awesome. I mean, I think having had parents that I took care of in the caregiving business, I mean, it's a tough job. You know, you have to be a special type of person because people don't really validate what you do. It's kind of like being a mother. No, do you know what I mean? Like people don't validate it, so it's a hard job, and you really have to love your patients and your clients and what you do. So that's great.
I feel they should be respected like first responders.
Absolutely,
basically, they're taking care of our loved ones, or like you'd want someone to trust you with your kids.
Right.
Now it's our parents, and that's what that they're doing. It's an honorable field.
Do you have clients whose families are out of town? Is that like the communication piece? Like I'm thinking like if I live in California and my mom and dad are here and I need to get some help, that must be excellent for them because they can find out right away.
Exactly, and they know what's going on without having to call back. They can just go on our web portal, it's a family portal that we have, and they can just check all the types of activities of daily living we help with, but also the notes that our caregivers put in. So they type in exactly what they helped with, how much mom or dad ate, and that's immediately available right after the shift to all of our families.
Is that something that's just pertinent to your business? Is that pretty new?
Yeah,
I mean, I know that they didn't have that even 3 or 4 years ago when I was using assisted help, help in the home. Mm-hmm. That's great.
And we were trying to be an electronic office, so basically having our caregivers put the notes in their phones allows that immediate access.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, David, well listen, I'm going to have you take a look into the camera and just say your little 2-minute spiel or 1 minute. And
thank you. Well, Dave Tasto again, thank you very much for the opportunity, Maureen, with Assisting Hands Home Care. We're based in Bedford on Crosby Drive, but feel free to call if you or a loved one needs help. We're at 781-315-6700. And I am honored, Maureen, to be the final chamber connection.
The final chamber connection. Well,
thank you.
I was honored to have you. All right, have a great day, and thanks for coming in.
You're very welcome. Thank you.